Can you believe it? It's been just over 2 weeks since the shooting massacres in El Paso and Dayton left 31 people dead. And in that time, President Trump has gone from supporting stronger background checks on gun sales, remember that, to backpedaling. The president is now saying that the U.S. already has strong background checks in place. That, of course, an NRA talking point. That has Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer hitting Trump for pivoting so quickly, saying, quote, "We've seen this movie before. President Trump feeling public pressure in the immediate aftermath of a horrible shooting, talks about doing something meaningful to address gun violence, but inevitably he backtracks in response to pressure from the NRA and the hard right." In fact, the president did do the same after the Parkland shootings. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. He sits on the House Judiciary Committee. You know, Congressman, I went to El Paso and Dayton. People were asking me there repeatedly, will this time be different? It doesn't look like it will be, does it? Will anything get done?
I don't think so. We're going to have a hearing on September 4 to deal with more extensive background checks than the bill we've already passed that's sitting in the Senate. Also to deal with high-capacity magazine and also the red flag laws, both incentives for state governments and a federal law. We'll pass them out of the committee. We'll have to argue with the Republicans. There won't be much support there. There may be some for background checks. I don't know. But the NRA is against it all, and so Trump will be against it all. You know, when I think back upon the hearing he had in Parkland on the Parkland shooting in the White House with all those victims, and he acted so concerned and so interested in how incredulous he was that 19-year-olds could buy, or 18-year-olds could buy those weapons. 21-year-old for pistols, but not for those type of rifles and
magazines.
And then he did nothing. Yeah. Then he did nothing. And so it's criminal to use those victims as a prop to act like he cares and then not to do it.
I had something of a frustrating exchange with Congressman Tom Reed in the last hour where I asked him, and I think we still have a picture about the magazine that was used in the Dayton shooting. This magazine here, that double drum barrel magazine, as you see, carries 100 rounds. It helped the shooter in Dayton kill 9 people in 40 seconds, less than a minute. And the congressman wouldn't even say that should be illegal. I mean, is there any movement from your Republican colleagues on banning magazines like that? I've never seen that in the hands of a U.S. soldier in Iraq or Afghanistan, let alone on the streets of Dayton.
No, there hasn't been any movement that I'm aware of. There are a couple of independent thinking Republicans, but they're not many, and I don't think they exist on our committee. So it's just an unfortunate circumstance. We need to ban assault weapons too, but that's a problem of defining what the AR-15, the AK-47, exactly what it is. I think they did it in the Brady bill, and eventually we'll get to that too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, in the past, Congress has passed measures. I mean, 1994 in the crime bill included assault weapons ban, although it's sunsetted. I want to ask you about the economy. You have the White House in public saying the economy's just fine, but in private now discussing a payroll tax cut to help stave off even the possibility of a recession. Would you support such a payroll tax cut?
You know, I'd look at it. We did it with Obama, so I'd take it into consideration, but I'd be concerned about it because it would increase the debt, which I voted against the Trump tax bill, which put over $1 trillion on the debt, and I voted against other proposals. He's had the budget proposal put over $1 trillion on the debt. We're going so far out. The debt that the United States carries, that China carries, is imperiling both our economies and China's economy, which affects the world's economy. I have no doubt we're going to see a recession. What you see with U.S. Steel is a response to the tariffs that were, poorly thought out. The world is concerned about Trump acting on his own on these tariffs and not working with allies to try to come up with mechanisms that help our country and the world's economy. We're not independent. And Trump said yesterday that there are recessions in Europe, but we're great. Well, if there are recessions in Europe, they're going to come to America. It's a worldwide economy. And if they can't buy our goods, we're going to have a recession. We all work together, and he can't understand that.
Are you
he just refuses to admit it.
Though, as a Democrat, that if the president proposes this and Democrats vote against a payroll tax cut, one that they've supported in the past, and two, one that would put more money into the pocket of Americans, that the president would be setting you up and say, listen, I tried to help you, Democrats stood in the way.
Well, that's certainly what he could say. He's going to say whatever he has to say. The man has no conscience whatsoever, and he has no understanding of the truth. He's a prevaricator when he wakes up in the morning. I mean, he just, or I guess it's still the morning at 3:30 when he starts to tweet. But I don't think we should base our policies and our actions on what he's going to do, because he's going to create his own realities, whether it's Pocahontas, whatever it is, he's going to create.
But why wouldn't that be a fair argument to say, listen, a payroll tax cut will give you, the economy may be slowing down, I want to cut you a break here, and after all, Democrats voted for this in 2011, so why wouldn't that be a fair argument?
Well, it's a good argument, except for the fact that it does cause more of a deficit down the line. You have less income coming into the federal government. It could affect Medicaid. It could affect Social Security, and we need to protect Medicaid and Social Security. That's so important. And if you're just, doing something today that you're going to have to pay for tomorrow, it's not good policy. And there are certain things we could do immediately, like a infrastructure bill, to put people to work and get goods to market. That would help the American economy and help the American worker. And we need an infrastructure bill. We need a minimum wage bill that puts money in the hands of people that are not living at poverty wages, and they spend every penny, and that stimulates the economy, rather than the Trump tax bill that put money in the upper 1% who put it into CDs or even bonds, that if they can make any money and get an interest rate return, and let it sit, but they don't invest it.
But before we go, I do want to ask you, because you're on the record as a strong supporter of impeachment, another Democrat, this time the fourth highest ranking Democrat in the House, has come out announcing his support, but still a majority of Americans don't want to go there. They don't want to go there. Why are Democrats coming out in support of a truly extraordinary step here when you don't have the public backing for it?
Well, we do have the public backing in a lot of areas. Ben Ray is running for the Senate, and I say Senate, New Mexico, and I guess the support's there in New Mexico, and it's certainly there in my district and in a lot of districts around the country.
Not nationally, though. You would need a majority of Americans to want this for it to go somewhere, and you'd also need a Republican Senate, by the way.
The fact is, if you have hearings, and we're having kind of quasi-hearings, but if you had a full impeachment inquiry, you would develop facts and put out information concerning the Mueller report, concerning obstruction of justice, concerning Emoluments Clause violations, and other errors or mistakes and violations of the Constitution of this administration that would bring those numbers up. In Watergate, the hearings started with about a 19% for impeachment. It got to about 67 or something. True, we had the John Dean, and we had Rosemary Woods, and you're not going to have a Rosemary Woods, but you could have something like that. And I think if the people heard from McGahn, and we're trying to get McGahn to testify. We've gone to court and asked Judge Jackson, I think he'll have it in his court, to order him to appear. But if he testifies, if Dearborn testifies, if Lewandowski testifies, the information that Trump tried to obstruct justice might bring those numbers up to where they need to be.
Well, we'll see. There's a lot of ifs there. Congressman Steve Cohen, we appreciate you taking the time this morning.